Lamine Yamal, the boy who at just 18 years old has already broken every record. At the same age, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were just beginning their professional careers. They barely played for the first team. But Lamine has already won the European Championship and La Liga, among other titles, and has made over 100 appearances for club and country. But how is this even possible? How can an 18-year-old slender teenager already be called the best football player in the world by many? Today, we're looking at his story, because it wasn't all as easy as it seems. Early life. Lamine was born on July 13, 2007, in a suburb of Barcelona. His father comes from Morocco and his mother from Equatorial Guinea. When he was 3, his parents separated and he lived mainly with his father in the Rocafonda neighborhood. This place still means a lot to Lamine and his family today, which we can see in his goal celebration. He shows the numbers 3, 0, and 4 with his fingers, the last digits of Rocafonda's postal code. Even as a child, Lamine was fascinated by football and was pretty good at it. At 4 years old, he started playing for a club and was watched by several teams, including FC Barcelona. But his story with Barca actually begins much earlier. Many know this incredible picture, Lionel Messi bathing the 5-month-old Lamine. This incredible meeting took place in 2007 as part of a UNICEF campaign by FC Barcelona. UNICEF organized a lottery among the residents of Rocafonda back then. The winner would be photographed for a charity calendar by the club. Lamine was drawn, and fate would have it that the footballer who was supposed to appear with him in the photo was none other than 20-year-old Lionel Messi. These photos were a glimpse into the future, because 7 years later, Lamine joined FC Barcelona's academy, La Masia, and wow, he made quite an impression. In the U7 and U9, Lamine was head and shoulders above his teammates, and it seemed like he was always getting better. I mean, just look at this technique, or this shot. His coach at the time said what surprised him most was that he kept getting better and better. He stood out more and more. And at 12 years old, a decision was made that brought his dream of becoming a professional footballer a whole lot closer. After scoring 56 goals in 30 games in one season, and that's despite playing against much older opponents, those responsible at La Masia were certain that this winger had the potential to become the next big star of the famous academy, and Lamine continued to shine. Nevertheless, he remained humble. He was shy and just wanted to play football, but there was one quality the coaches loved about him. As he continued to develop, the world began to take notice of him, particularly at the La Liga Promises Santander tournament, where Barca faced Liverpool, Juventus, and Dortmund, as well as several top Spanish teams. Yamal dominated the tournament. He scored 7 goals and was instrumental in the 6-1 victory against Real Madrid, and he was eventually voted player of the tournament as Barcelona won the trophy. After this tournament, Spain also began to take notice of Yamal, and Yamal was invited to train with the U15 and U16 teams. Despite the physically superior older defenders, he continued to dance past them with ease. Everything seemed perfect, but then came the highlight of Lamine's young career. During the 2022-23 season, when Lamine was still 15 years old, something happened that many wouldn't have expected. Coach Xavi saw the enormous potential and brought Lamine to train with the first team in September 2022, and he knew how to impress.
First sign in my life, because I saw a lot of young, talented players, but first time in my life, I saw that I have inside this.
Wow. Breaking into the first team. Lamine danced past Jordi Alba, Gerard Piqué, and Sergio Busquets in training sessions, and many at the club thought, hey, is this the next Lionel Messi? But he was still a boy, and both Xavi and Barca knew they had to carefully develop their upcoming super talent before presenting him to the world. On April 23, 2023, Lamine was in the squad for the first time for a La Liga match against Atletico Madrid. Although he didn't play in the narrow 1-0 victory, a week later he was nominated again, this time against Real Betis. After 33 minutes and a comfortable 4-0 lead, Xavi decided the time had come to show the Wonder Kid to the world. Yamal, 15 years and 290 days old, replaced Gavi and became the youngest player to ever wear the Blaugrana jersey in a league match. And during his brief appearance against Betis, the 15-year-old already showed glimpses of his talent. He almost scored a goal.
In 2023, after impressive performances in Spanish youth teams, he was part of the squad for the U17 European Championship, even though he was only 15 years old and small and slender. But here, too, he knew how to convince. Spain was knocked out in the semifinals, but Lamine scored 4 goals and provided 2 assists, and this caught the attention of a very big club. The Barcelona breakthrough. According to rumors, Real Madrid showed interest in Lamine, and since Lamine's father is a known Real Madrid fan, they perhaps hoped that the son would switch to their rivals, something that, according to Lamine's father, would never happen. Normally, Barcelona would carefully develop a young player like him over several years, but the club was broke. They sold Ousmane Dembélé, and Ansu Fati, once celebrated as the next Messi, didn't develop as hoped. Since the club couldn't make big transfers, Barcelona had no choice but to seriously rely on the teenage wonder kid who had just celebrated his 16th birthday. In the first games, he was already in the starting lineup, and then on match day 3 came the brilliant performance. In the 4-3 victory against Villarreal, he provided 2 assists and was chosen as man of the match. Coach Xavi had initially been reluctant to throw the boy into the deep end so early, but it quickly became clear the boy could swim. He was deployed in the Champions League and also became the youngest player to ever be in the starting 11 there. And on October 8th, a very special moment, he scored his first goal and became the youngest goal scorer in La Liga history. Sports journalists worldwide had seen enough. They saw in him the coming superstar at Barcelona. Yamal's creativity, joy of playing, and technique were visible throughout the season, but by the turn of the year, he had only scored 1 goal. Then, however, he decided to take his game to the next level. He became the youngest goal scorer in the Copa del Rey and the Supercopa, finally conquering the right wing position. From then on, he was a permanent part of the starting 11. Euro 2024 glory. In April 2024, the hype around Yamal reached a new dimension. He became the youngest player to record 10 goal contributions in a La Liga season, and during his first professional season at Barcelona, Yamal broke records week after week. In the end, he finished as runner-up with Barca, but coach Xavi had to leave at the end of the season. And then news that surprised quite a few in the football world. The 16-year-old was actually in the squad for Euro 2024. And as we all know, Lamine wasn't just an observer, he was an integral part, tearing up the wings alongside Nico Williams. The young team won all their group games without conceding a single goal, and in the knockout phase, Lamine really began to flourish. The winger gained confidence with each game and provided assists in the round of 16 and quarterfinal victories against Georgia and Germany. Then the semi-final against France, where Rabiot said that famous line before the game, and Lamine's answer. In the final, Spain faced England, a team with superstars like Jude Bellingham. But once again, Yamal showed no fear. Spain dominated. Yamal shone on the right side and set up the opening goal with a precise assist. Luis de la Fuente's team deservedly won 2-1 in the end. While stars like Bellingham and Kane had come to Germany to cement their legendary status, it was the slender 16-year-old Yamal who stole the spotlight from everyone on the big stage, dominating with Barcelona. And this trend continued in the following season. Mbappe, together with Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., and Rodrigo, formed a Real Madrid team that was supposed to dominate both the League and Champions League for years to come. But they weren't prepared for the new Barcelona under coach Hansi Flick. Yamal scored his first goal against Real Madrid, and Barca swept Real off the pitch with an unforgettable 4-0 victory. And that wasn't enough. Barca later also defeated Real in the Supercopa final 5-2 and in the Copa del Rey final 3-2, with Yamal directly involved in 3 more goals.
In winter 2024, he won the Golden Boy Award as the best young player at just 17 years old. But as the season progressed, Yamal's image transformed from the best young player in the world to a serious Ballon d'Or candidate. His performance in the Champions League semi-final against Inter Milan was nothing short of magical. Many saw it as the moment when he definitively stepped into Messi's footsteps. And although Barcelona ultimately lost against Inter, they could still celebrate at the end of the season. The football world was thrilled. But this hype is also dangerous, which many people forget. Before Lamine, there were other superstar teenagers who suddenly disappeared. I mean, just at Barca alone, Ansu Fati and Bojan Krikic are examples of this now. For Lamine, it will be important not to be distracted by all the attention and keep focusing on football, showing that he can play at world-class level not just for one season, but for 10, 15 years. That's exactly what made Messi so extraordinary, playing at the highest level for years. In 2025, he was one of the top favorites for the Ballon d'Or, but finished second behind Ousmane Dembélé. But I'm sure if he continues this way, it's only a matter of time before we see Lamine with the trophy. I mean, the guy is only 18 years old.